Okay, to finish our lesson on velocity, we're going to make a game. This game is going to be a side scroller, and it uses parts 11, 12, and 13. I'm skipping right to 13. I'm going to show you the finished project so that you still have a chance to work through this on your own. So, the game will be, when you run it, there will be a frog and a mushroom that moves back and forth across the screen. Your job will be to jump over the top of the mushroom. Now, at this point, there's no collisions or anything like that, but we get a chance to do something in our game. In this case, we're trying to jump over the top of a mushroom that constantly is moving across the screen. Okay, so to start, we need to control our frog. Well, they have some of this code already in here for us, but in the end, what we're going to do is we say, hey, if the frog dot y is greater than 324, that means it's sitting on the ground. And so we're going to say if it's sitting on the ground, we can say if the key is pressed up, then we can make it jump. If it's not pressed, or if nothing else is going on, the velocity will be 0. So what that does is it says, okay, if the frog is touching the ground, if the user pushes the up arrow, it's going to jump. But if it doesn't push the up arrow, it's just going to stay still, and that's what it will do. Now remember, the numbers you use for velocity.y and here don't really matter. This one needs to be 0 because it has to stop, and this one just has to be a negative number to make sure it jumps up. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. The second part of this that we need is if we don't have a top of the jump, it will just jump all the way up to the top of the screen and keep floating forever. We need to set a y in if block that will make it come back down. So I chose if frog.y is less than 225, make it come back down. Set the velocity.y equal to 0. So it works almost the exact same way, but it's basically saying, hey, if it gets too high up on the screen, make it come back down. The next part we need is we need the mushroom to move. Well, since the mushroom's moving at the same speed constantly, and it does it right at the beginning of the game, we can do that up at the beginning of our thing. I put it down here just so you could see it together, but really this mushroom.velocity_x should be up here at the top with this mushroom variable creation when we initialize the variable in the first place. So down here, I have mushroom.velocity_x equals negative 15. The idea is that the mushroom should be constantly moving to the left. So I set it to negative 15. Now the reason I chose 15 was because when I played around with it, it was too much slower. The frog didn't really jump over the top of it. It constantly ran into it instead. So I was looking for a good number that was fast, but not too fast, that the frog could actually jump over the top of it. Now, the if block says if mushroom.x is less than negative 30, which means if it is off the left-hand side of the screen, we want to reset it and go back to the right-hand side of the screen. So we say if mushroom.x is less than negative 30, we say mushroom.x equals 425. The idea here being is once it gets so far gone, it resets. And it does that over and over and over again because our draw loop is constantly checking to see if these things happen. And so right here, we just created the most basic side scroller game. Now, to make this a real game, we'd want to do more to it, but it works. And we've got a game where we can control a frog, we can make it jump, we could eventually assign scores to things like this, and we can feel like it's a real game. Using these velocity and rotation speed new lines of code, it makes it so our code looks much simpler than it would have otherwise, and we can do some pretty cool things with it.